AUNTY FLO, and first of all, I want to apologize for the delay. It's been 2 weeks since I posted a short story, and this is the third short story of my second book, and this one is called Mother and Daughter Relationship. This too is a fictitious story about a mother named Frances Adams and her only daughter, Missy Adams. Frances lived in Los Angeles, California, and at age 19 gave birth to a pretty baby girl and named her Missy. She was not married to Missy's dad, and after Missy was born, they broke up. The story behind the breakup is a whole nother story, so let's stay with this one, mother and daughter relationship. So for the first 6 years of Missy's life, she was an only child, and of course she loved that. It was just her and her mom, basically. But 2 years after the breakup with her dad, Frances met a new man named Ernest, and they were together about 8 years and had a son named him Caden. And they married shortly thereafter their son was born. But within a year's period, Frances discovered that Ernest was on drugs. And she worked with him for about 6 months, but he refused to get help. So Frances and the kids left him, and she got the marriage annulled. She continued working and taking care of her children, and really wasn't looking to get into another boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, nor get married, when one of her longtime girlfriends invited her to join the girls and go out to a club. And she thought, well, what could it hurt? A lot, because that's the night when she met her next husband, actually. And what happened was somehow Frances knew from the day she met him that he was going to be a thorn in her side for a long time. As surely as she thought, the man she met named Henry was a pain. He asked her to marry him within the first 2 months, and a couple of years later they had a son and named him Henry Jr. The 8th year of their marriage, she discovered Henry was using drugs. She worked with him for about 3 years. He too refused to get help, and Frances left him and finally got a divorce from him on about the middle of December 1995. With all this going on, Frances didn't realize how much disappointment and hurt her kids were suffering, but mostly Missy. She suffered the most, being the oldest. And she started to act out at age 14 with a lot of resentment and disrespect for her mother. Frances reflected back on her life and realized that during her troubled times, she spent a lot of time partying and drinking with her sisters and brothers, and not, paying as much attention to the kids as she should have. She also administered corporal punishment on her kids, which she now regrets. Then once Missy was 18, though, she had a baby boy of her own, and she named him Eugene, and she and Frances started to get along pretty good. Frances helped her out with the baby. Frances breathed a sigh of relief, thinking everything had worked out after all. But then Missy got married and moved out during that time, and she had another son named Tyrese. She later divorced her husband Floyd and met a new guy named Roger, and a couple of years later they married, and he brought one daughter to the marriage, and Missy's stepdaughter and her mother were a nightmare, which is another story. Missy's husband passed away, though, after 12 years after she met him and was married, which was very unfortunate. He's a very nice guy and very productive. However, he did leave her pretty well off with properties, pensions, etc. And he earned in the 6 figures, and she had a really good position too, as well, on her job. She also made sure her stepdaughter was taken care of as well, and she had also given her mom Frances a lot of expensive purses, clothes, coats, jewelry, and those sort of things. And Frances realizes that most of her blessings come through her daughter Missy. However, I would like to talk about is that during the time when Missy divorced her first husband, before she met her second husband, Missy had said to her mom, "Why don't you sell your house and we can buy a house together, and you, me, and the boys can live together." It didn't take long for Frances to think this was a good idea because she had a severe bingo habit, also known as gambling. So they found her house, and since Missy had lost her previous house to a trustee sale, she didn't have enough money. But by now, Frances had sold her house and gained $67,000, gave each one of her children $4,000 each, and played even more bingo. But of course, she did do loan Missy $10,000 to put down on the new house. Frances was out playing bingo and was not there to sign on the trustee deed. So Missy and Frances had previously signed a notarized statement stating that Missy would give Frances the $10,000 back and 20% of the profits from flipping the house because they decided to do that because by now Missy had gotten married again, and they had bought a nice bigger house over on the west side of Palmdale. And so anyway, Missy did give Frances the $10,000 back in 2 payments. But she never mentioned the 20% refinance money that her and her husband had gotten from the house that Frances and Missy bought. So finally, Frances calls her in 2007 a couple of times, and I believe on the third call that she asked about the investment, Missy got upset and very emotional and said, "If you call me again, I will file phone harassment charges against you." Then Frances waited about 3 weeks, and then she started to get upset because now she wants to play bingo, and she's broke. And so an idea came into her head was to file a court case. And that would scare Missy into giving her some of the money that she gained from the refinancing of the house. And that was just a tactic that she was going to use. But when she got to the court and saw Missy in the hallway, and she thought they could work it out in the hallway, and she would let her know that's what it was all about once she agreed to give her some money. And at that point, she didn't even care if she only gave her $1,000. But Missy just had this look on her face like she just wanted to attack Frances. So Frances backed away, and they went in to see the judge. And that's when Missy told the judge, yeah, they did make a $50 profits from the house, but her husband had made a bad investment after that and lost it. And that her mom Frances needs to realize that sometimes you make investments you lose, and didn't feel Frances should expect anything. Well, the judge thought, Mom and daughter, why don't you go out or go, come back another day, go and try to work it out, and come back another day. And he gave him a new court date. But during the next week, Missy decided to offer $7,500 by paying $200 a month. And she did pay $6,500 of that amount to her mom, which her mom accepted because she was still playing bingo. So Missy has never forgiven her mom for the lawsuit, even though Frances has apologized. Missy has never apologized for her role, but instead has cussed Frances out a couple of times, stating she hates her and indicating how she mistreated her when she was a kid and she would never sue the boys. Frances explained that, first of all, she would never loan the boys or anyone else $10,000, but because she only trusted her. So she didn't speak to her mom for 5 years, and when her husband passed away, she asked her mom to move in with her. Of course, the mom moved in, and shortly thereafter, Missy moved out. The next year, Missy asked the mom to move, stating that just having her around had ruined her last holiday season and did not want that to happen in the year 2014. So Frances was so hurt and stressed, but managed to move within days before Thanksgiving. Then the following year, Missy contacted the mom as if nothing had happened and asked her mom could she move back in the house. The mom said no. Missy sold the house, and the following year allowed her, before she sold the house, she did sell the house the following year, but before she sold it, she allowed her younger brother to live there for free for almost a year. She has done a lot of wonderful things for her brothers as well. Missy and her dad are very close, although he did not provide for her growing up. But Frances decided she's not going to complain. She seems to be very happy with that relationship, and he does feel a lot less guilty with the relationship also. It seems that they only get along for about 6 months, meaning Frances and Missy, and then Missy kind of finds some reason to fall out and stop speaking to her mom. They're currently not speaking right now, since April of this year. So Frances changed and don't feel she needs to apologize anymore. So what we would like for you to do, if you want to provide some advice, please scroll down to the bottom and click like, and then scroll down to the comment section and help with any advice you can offer. The lesson learned here, and it has already been said many, many times before, don't do business with family. Thank you.